It's been about a year since Line 6 sent me the HX Stomp. I just thought I'd put together a little video, kind of walk through the various ways that I've used it over the year. So I guess to start with, it took a little bit of getting used to. I mean, I've grown up with a Pod XT Live and a Pod HD 500X, so I'm kind of used to using modelers, but some of the Helix stuff was a little bit different. Not much, but just a little bit. And I found things were maybe a bit bright initially, so that just took me a bit of time spending more time with the unit. So live, mostly what I'll do is set up 3 snapshots. So this is my clean. So that was the first thing. This is my live patch still to this day. It's in my bundle if you want to have a look at it. It's called JC Live FD, and I think it's all based on the litigator. So then I've got a rhythm on A. Then in B, I've got a lead tone. Right, the next thing I did was, well, I think this is the next thing I did, was to try, and this is an option you got with this patch, is to just take the send, because it runs parallel, take a send out and into an amp of your choice. I'll use something like Mesa Boogie, thanks. Basically the split is just after the drive, so you've got like a 2 amp setup, the litigator in here, and then I've got a real amp, so this is kind of for my own benefit on stage, just because I prefer the way it feels when you've got a little bit of realness behind you as well. So because the drives on the HX Stomp are really nice, I think one of my favourites is the Legacy Green Screamer, but I also then later found the Screamer, which is the later tube screamer from the Helix modelling, and also they've just brought out these nice Air Apparent, which I guess is the Prince of Tone, and there's the Diana drive, which is like a version of a Zen drive, so they're all cool too. And I found that it kind of just works nicely in front of an amp. And then the other thing that you can do, and that I've done a couple of times, if your amp doesn't really respond too nicely, you could simply move the split. Hold on. So if I do this here, I move the split to be after the amp, before the cab. What am I doing? Then I've got the amp modelling into this. Just going to be a bit louder apparently. The other kind of major step that I had where I started to get more out of the HX Stomp was involving the expression pedal. Now I've done a video on a couple of different bits and pieces of this, which I guess I should link. But for my live sound, what I did was made the expression pedal control the delay. Just because I needed a clean rhythm and a lead for my gigs, but then there's one other switch which I don't have access to, where I need to switch in a delay for both my lead and my clean tones. So I put that on the expression pedal. The other useful thing that involving an expression pedal did for me was emulating a freeze sound, which some of you are probably quite familiar with, and it's definitely my favourite thing that I've managed to figure out on both the HX Stomp and the Helix. So basically I've got the expression pedal working as a pad, working as a switch for a pad, sorry, for like an infinite sustaining chord. So that's where I'm kind of at on my journey with the HX Stomp, but kind of a cool update is that the Strymon zoomer that I've just got to power up my board will now also power up my HX Stomp, which does mean that I can stick it on the end of a board. Makes it more flexible, really, because I don't want to necessarily be plugging in two things at a time, which is what I've had to do up to this point. Because obviously most power supplies won't power the HX Stomp that effectively. But yeah, I've got the relevant current doubler cable, plug that into the Strymon zoomer, it works like a treat. So means this little guy will get acne.